I'm Joshua Roberts, attorney at law, and you are watching Lawyer Up. Today we have breaking news, and I wanted to bring it to you guys immediately. It happened so fast I didn't even have time to put on a tie or pants. Just kidding, I'm wearing pants, but this is quick, fast breaking news that we wanted to get to you guys as soon as possible. Today we're talking about a $450 per week stipend that has been proposed by one Republican senator. We're going to look at his proposal and some of the positives and probably some of the negatives that will be discussed by Congress over the next few days. And remember, if you learned something today, hit that like button. If you want to know more about the law, subscribe to the channel. If you got something to say, comment below, and as always, share me on social media. Now today we're talking about the breaking news in regard to the stimulus package. Now as a quick refresher, recall that the Congress did pass and the President did sign into law the CARES Act. That was the initial stimulus package from the government that pumped or will pump about $3 trillion into the United States economy. Now recall, this was in response to the coronavirus pandemic. It was sponsored by the Republicans, but wound up being a bipartisan effort that passed both houses with overwhelming support. Now, if you want the full details of the CARES Act, you can find a lot of information on this channel. Just look for anything entitled CARES Act, and it'll give you a summary and a lot more details about what went into the specific act. But moving on, last week, the House of Representatives passed the HEROES Act. And this was the Democratic bill that was proposed and passed the House and now has moved over to the Senate. This bill would pump an additional $3 trillion into the economy in response to the coronavirus. Now, as you may have heard, the Republicans control the Senate and they have balked at the HEROES Act. Their response has been that we need to let the economy reopen and kind of see where we are at. We have already approved $3 trillion worth of stimulus money, and we don't necessarily know if we need an additional $3 trillion under the HEROES Act. So as we know, the HEROES Act probably will not pass the Senate, and President Trump has said even if it does, he will not sign it into law, calling the bill DOA. However, the Republican Party has stated that there does need to be some additional stimulus action by Congress in response to the economical problems that the American people are having as a result of stay-at-home orders and COVID-19. And today we got that first glimpse at what one of the proposals might be. Now, this proposal was specific to unemployment, so the CARES Act has a lot of different areas. This particular proposal only deals with unemployment. Now recall, under the CARES Act, the federal government set aside money to supplement state unemployment benefits. States provide a certain level of unemployment benefits, and then the federal government came in to provide an additional $600 per week for individuals drawing unemployment. So for example, if an individual is drawing $300 per week under his state unemployment system, then this would add an additional $600 on top of that, essentially tripling the unemployment benefit during the coronavirus. Now, the problem that has created is that 70% of the people that are currently on unemployment are making more money not working and just getting unemployment than they did when they were actually working full-time in the workforce. The problem this creates is there's really no financial incentive to go back into the workforce. Instead, they could just ride out this additional $600 unemployment additional stipend through the end of July before they actually had to go back to work. So a solution was proposed today. It was proposed by Senator Rob Portman. He is a Republican from Ohio. His proposal was a back-to-work stipend of $450 per week. Essentially, what this would do is, for those that are on unemployment, if they went back to work and worked full-time, the government would give them a $450 per week stipend on top of their regular wages. The thought process is that we have in the United States about 3 million people on unemployment. And so if we could reduce that $600 a week that the government is paying out under the federal program, if we could reduce that to $450 a week, then you're saving $150 times 3 million. That's actually just under $500 million, and we would save that every single week under the proposal of Senator Portman. And that proposal sounds great, except that there's a couple of problems with it. And let me give you an example as the first problem. The average person that's on unemployment is getting about $300 per week. In addition to that, they get the extra $600 from the federal government, so they're making about $900 per week being on unemployment. Now take another average person that goes back to work making $12 an hour. In a 40-hour week, they'll get about $450. If you would add the stipend that the federal government is going to give as the back to work stipend, another $450, that winds up to be about $900. So you see, the problem is that you could stay at home and do nothing and make $900, or you could work full time and make $900. There really isn't any financial incentive for people that make around $12 an hour to go back to work at all. Now, some might say, well, personal pride is incentive, and I don't disagree with that. I'm not here to squabble about that issue, but there's no financial incentive for, I call it the $15 and under crowd. For those people that make $15 an hour and under, there's no financial incentive to go back to work, even with this back to work stipend. So one of the problems of the Portman proposal will be the financial incentive for people to actually go back to work. A second problem is, what about those people that are already working or that are not going to go back to work at all? And I'm talking about certainly frontline workers, I'm talking about essential workers, but I'm talking about the other people that have removed themselves from unemployment and gone back to work at least part-time. There isn't anything in the Portman proposal that would provide them with any type of a back-to-work benefit at all. And what about the people that aren't going back to work? The retirement community, the homemaker community, or maybe people on disability. There is no current proposal to provide them with any type of relief whatsoever. So while the Portman proposal is good for the 3 million people on unemployment, arguably, it does little to nothing for the other 325 million people in the United States. So I suspect you're going to hear a loud opposition to anything that specifically incentivizes the unemployed population, especially when it doesn't do anything for people who are back to work or for those who never left and they've been working the entire time. It will be interesting to see how Congress discusses this particular proposal. This appears to be a good starting point, at least with the unemployment issue. However, it's going to require some significant modification to provide some more financial incentive to those on unemployment, and something's going to have to be done for everybody else. Perhaps another round of stimulus checks. It has yet to be determined by Congress, but this proposal at least is step one into talking about and exploring an additional round of stimulus money that may or may not be coming to the American people. So that's the update on the latest proposal, the $450 a week back to work stimulus check for the unemployed population. We will, of course, keep you informed as proposals come forward about any potential money that could be flowing into your pocket. So stay tuned to the channel for all updates about the stimulus package. If you learned something today, make sure you hit that like button. If you got something to say, comment below. Make sure you subscribe so that you get all of the updates about the stimulus package. And as always, share me on social media. My name is Joshua Roberts, and you've been watching Lawyer Up.
Send lawyers, guns, and money. Dad, get me out of this.